Mics are on. Cameras on. Do I see a red dot? Yep, we are recording. I thought it was inspirational.
I thought it was on the 6 o'clock news. This part of the news is just in. Hockey's still the greatest game on earth.
And you know what? It is. 3, 2, 1. We made it to our second episode.
Yeah, can you believe it?
Right? The fan mail was supportive. It was interesting. And so one of the things, we're going to jump right into this one because we try and limit our time on these.
Yep.
And we try and keep it, to where we've got some good meat on the table for digestion.
And who do we have today?
Who do we have today? We have Mr. Chris Palmer in the house. Yeah. Right?
Nice.
Chris is somebody that we've known in the Tampa area, and his ability to work with the kids is nothing shy of exceptional. He comes at it from the mental side of it, the mental preparedness aspect of how we get into the games.
Has a son that plays hockey.
He has a whole family that plays hockey.
A very, very good player too, as well.
Right. So yeah, that's something that Chris is in the green room. Chris, how you doing?
Good. Bring him in.
Yeah, come on in.
Come on in.
Don't forget, close the door behind you.
There you go. Have a seat there, sir. I got you some Tabaki right here for you.
Thanks, sir.
Yes. Right. So we're here with Chris, and Chris, you started out with a need or a calling to want to help, and you've been doing this now for a couple of years. It started out, I think, for a bunch of people, you look at this aspect of the game, and it doesn't become important until you know it. And usually it's as you get older and things get tuned up a little bit, where the mental part of it, I think, is more important than the physical, because you've already got the physical covered, and now we get into medical. So we're not going to mess around. We'll keep the levity to a minimum so that we can maximize our time and spend a lot of time listening. So Chris had figureoutyourlife.com. It's corporate. It's life coaching type stuff, and then you saw a need on the sports side of it for off-ice advantage. And so you were able to take your craft, the things that you do, and put that into a context for athletes. It's not just hockey. I think the metamorphosis is the same with all sports. In our 15th take that we did, we talked about that a little bit. But Chris, the mic is yours. Explain how you got here. How you got here, and
well, you're imparting your stuff on other people now.
Right, and tell us about if we're looking for a little bit of credentials, you ran previously, right? Well, you still run. I know that because we see you in the car driving by. Unfortunately for me, I should be there with you. But you started out in track and field, right? And you got into it when you were what, 13?
Yes.
And what happened? What got you into track and field? And talk about how coaching and the coaches that influenced you to get you to kind of where you're at today.
Yeah. Well, first thing, I do this thing called off-ice advantage. And what that is really just mental toughness training. In fact, there's going to be an offshoot of it called piranha training, which will be for all sports. But really the idea is that in hockey, because the shifts are so punishingly short, I mean, they're 25 to 40 seconds, they kind of put all of life in one little group of seconds. There really isn't a lot of time to make really good decisions. So training that toughness, training that belief in yourself, training that willingness to get back up when you're busted down, and so often you're knocked to the ground in the sport, that's everything to me. Because when I started running, I started at 13 years old. And really, my whole childhood, I kind of thought I was nothing. I was one of these kids that didn't really believe in himself, didn't feel like I had a place. And I met a coach, this amazing coach. He was a coach of this amazing star-studded program, Largo High School. They won all these cross-country championships over 20 years. And the guy tells me the first day, he goes, "Chris, you can be something because you already are something." And that just stuck with me. And sure enough, he showed me that in any situation, if you bust your tail, if you get out there and work hard, and you fight through the pain, you can become amazing. And to me,
and you did work hard. I mean, you got your name up on a couple walls still, right?
It was good. We actually won three state championships and one runner-up in high school, and we were national champions in high school. And I also got a scholarship to college, and I was a 2-time All-American in cross country. So it was good. It was really good.
So is this where your desire to impart that mental aspect started?
Oh yeah. Because for me, I wound up going to school for psychology. I've got a master's in psych, and the whole understanding of how your head works is fascinating to me. Because remember, I said the first 13 years of my life, I felt like I was nothing, but somehow I meet this guy who infuses this amazing belief into me, and I'm like, I'm still the same person. What's going on?
Right.
Well, what's going on is all here. Life is all about us interpreting what's going on. Just a quick thing. I show this thing in our camps all the time. If you imagine all the walls are gone, the electricity's gone, the water's gone, everything's gone, and all we have is living out in nature. You have those who are fearful and those who are predatory. And if you look at the rabbits as a great example, the rabbit's so fearful. But rabbits really survive well because they know to hide in fear. If there's a loud noise, they cower down. And we have this same thing built into us. It's this great fear instinct that's so great for our survival, but it's terrible for really living. It's horrible for really living. So what I try to teach kids is, hey, hear that rabbit in you, hear that fearful part in you. When you get knocked into the wall, you get busted down, or you get tired, or your legs are aching, or for whatever reason something isn't working the way you want, or you had a fight with mom and dad, or your stick breaks, whatever it is, it's okay to be fearful. It's okay to doubt. Your brain's going to be in fear mode trying to figure it out. But the better thing is to know that you are strong, you are capable, you can get back up, you can do your job. And that's what I love training, because little Chris Palmer didn't know there was a whole world out there.
Right.
But after a great coach, I figured that out. In the same way, I got to live that in college, and now I get to impart it to kids. My favorite thing is finding a kid who thinks he can't do it and show him he can.
Well, that's an interesting segue, because at your camps, I was talking to my kids about it originally, and there was some, reservation, if you will, of, Dad, do we have to go, and why aren't we on the ice, and there's a part of me that says I wish I could fast forward them to adults, and at the same time I'm doing everything I can to slow the clock, and to worship and value every second of it, because I know it's going to be gone, and those car rides from the rink at some point are going to come to an end. So when we were talking in the car on the way there, there's still apprehension from the kids. Why do we have to do this? And at noontime, I get a phone call from my oldest saying, Dad, are we coming back tomorrow? Right? And so you set the tempo, and it was so inspirational to be a part of that, because you pulled out things in my kids that my kids didn't believe in. And we started out with you did some physical testing. And that's part of it, right? And then at the end of the week, we circled back and we did all those things again. And every single kid blew it out of the charts as far as, what they thought they could do versus what they actually did. And that's the takeaway from it, is that we are our own worst enemies. And to foster that and to be aware of it, to nurture it maybe, is really important.
Yeah. Honestly, you absolutely hit on it, because each person, we all have these limiting beliefs, and it's so common. I mean, look at life. How many times do people give each other a hard time in school, give each other a hard time in life? I mean, honestly,
hard time on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, your podcast last week, there weren't so many warm responses. But
Never saw a single one.
Yeah. But if I tell you, in life, over and over again, there's this fear chatter in our head, and then there's, what are we going to do now? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? I mean, look at this COVID thing. This COVID thing puts this giant light on what are you going to do now.
Well,
is it flight or fight? I mean, does it get that basic?
Oh, it really is that basic, because fight or flight is the core of who we are. If you take away everything, our core instincts, which are very, very helpful to us, they're incredibly helpful to us, is self-preservation. But self-preservation is not living. Self-preservation is existing. And if you live a life of fear, if you live a life where all you do is, what about this, what about this, what about this, and everybody has this stuff, whether you want to admit it or not, you're stuck in survival. But if you can hear that noise and say, okay, hey, look, that's just the alarm system. I'm in charge. I have choices. I can choose this. I can choose that. I can get back up and do my job. That's the magic trick. And that's the thing I want to impart.
So that was one of the biggest reasons we wanted you on. We talk about kids keeping their head up on the ice, right? You don't want to get hammered,
Absolutely.
right?
Hammered's bad.
But we're not on the ice right now.
Yeah.
So how do we keep our heads up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, each person has to find their own reason. And it's so important that we try to talk about this stuff and figure out, why are you doing this in the first place? What is it about hockey that was special to you? What is it about your life that can be like that in the absence of it? Because right now is a great chance for us all to get some amazing maturity and some mental toughness, because we've had something taken away, something we love, something we care about. I mean, across the board, all these posts you hear people, oh, I miss it, I want to get back, I can't believe we're not doing it. This has been devastation for so many people. And I know it's not devastation like third world country devastation, but for us in a first world country, this has really, really been hard. It's a total change of life. I think this is an opportunity for each kid to come back and decide, what can I do now? Because it's not like we're never going to be on the ice again. We're going to be. But here's your chance to build up toughness. Here's your ability to get an edge off ice, to do something in your garage, to do something mentally, to grow in whatever way you can grow. I think it's about seeing what the opportunity is at every given moment. Because look at a guy like Reimer. Reimer, great example. Mark Reimer, AHL goalie, amazing guy, one of the most humble people you'll ever meet. He had to make some decisions, right? As he was going along, he got better, better, and better, and then he was in the pros. And like everybody else, at some point, he retires from the pros. And you have to decide, was it all about the pros, or was it about a lifetime of loving the opportunities in front of you in hockey? And for him, clearly, it's about loving the entirety of the sport of hockey.
The journey.
Yeah. So for him, where's the opportunity? What can I do now? And over again, coaching kids, helping kids, developing kids. The guy's amazing. He's also, well, he's a regional guy at Home Depot. He influences people in the same coaching way there. So for me, I think it's an opportunity for parents to tell their kids, look, this is real life. Life isn't going to be so easy all the time. What can you do now? What do you want to do now? And make these choices. And the guys who really love hockey will find a way to do things that will complement hockey. And the guys who maybe didn't love hockey, they'll find something else.
You know, that's a really good point. It's not like as adults, we knew this was a hiccup, you know, that life will kind of come back to some sense of normalcy. But to your point, we could sit there and do nothing. And we could hunker down and you know, we could do the best that we could to protect our family. And then there's no right or wrong to it. We're all programmed differently, and we all have different needs. And but like the podcast came out of this. This is something that I don't think we would have had the time or you know, saw the need to do. And then conversely, at the rinks, we're trying to figure out social distancing and how to get that started. Coach Ken starts up his own Facebook page, right? And now we've got all these contributing editors in the form of kids showing what they're doing. I mean, whoever would have thought we'd have the ingenuity to do a drive-by birthday party.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. One of the most incredible, beautiful things I think I've seen in life. When we're in the locker room and it's that 15 minutes when they're scraping, how important is that as far as getting in the right mindset?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think everything starts in the warm-up. I mean, I think all people want to enjoy their lives, whether you're a kid or an adult. So have fun, screw around, play around, joke around. But this game, we all do it for the love of the game, but also for what we get out of giving everything we can, out of just completely bleeding on the ice. There's something amazing that you get beyond playing games. Like if you want to play games, you can go to Chuck E. Cheese, right? That's fun. But there's a totally different level of joy that comes from completely diving in and giving every single thing you have and feeling that amazing, amazing feeling of satisfaction that you know you did something you've never done before. To me, in defeat or in winning, knowing you've given every single thing and just leaving everything on the ice is amazing, and it starts in the warm-up. The warm-ups that I do with the teams that I've worked with here have always started with us getting our head set from square one. And when you come in, the entire team comes in, you can tell there's something about that group because there's no more screwing around. There's no more messing around. This group is intense. And honestly, it works against the other team because the other team sees this group of guys. And there's intimidation because they know it's an army of people ready to go.
Right. Well, it reminds me of that kind of that Pulp Fiction parody with Samuel Jackson, right, where he's on the ice, he's the coach, and you know, and you see all the players respond where they clank their stick in harmony with the coach's message, right? And that's exactly right. I mean, as coaches, we look at it and we're evaluating the team that we're going to play, and then we're going to figure out the strategy of what do we need to concentrate on? And we can have blowout games, we can have incredible games, but when you get in these ruts, and I think we're all there from time to time. There was one thing that stuck out. We're at this tournament at Center Ice, and our team is just, we're tight. We can't get out of our own ways. Things are. It was bad. It was a train wreck. I mean, and all the kids were feeling this unimaginable pressure. And we're just there to play hockey. I mean, it's not going to change the world, and we're fighting for, this little, lanyard. But you had to talk with them, and I watched the transformation from these kids that didn't believe in themselves, that were so preoccupied about what could be instead of what is. And you change that whole locker room in a couple minutes to where, boy, those kids were coming out, and I think we could have gone and played the NHL that day, right? So that's the power of suggestion, the power of looking at things differently. What else do you have for us?
Yeah, well, I think that day's a great example. I think that this is an in-house team playing in a tournament with travel kids. And honestly, all they think about is, oh gosh, we're playing travel kids. Am I good enough? We're just in-house. I mean, that kind of just, it's garbage, because in the end, they're kids, and they're kids who play hockey.
Yeah, I hate those labels.
Oh, yeah.
Always hated those labels.
I mean, my son plays travel, and he also plays in-house, because the things he gets from in-house are unbelievable.
That's it.
It's a completely different world. And let me just mention this for a second. You can't be a machine. No one's a machine. And you can give somebody all the right nutrition and all the right workouts, and you can make their sleep a certain thing, and you can discipline out their entire lives. But if that kid doesn't love it, and that kid doesn't like what he's doing, and he's not intrinsically driven, you're always going to have something less. And by the same token, you can have a kid that's super motivated, and if he's not doing all these things right, he's not going to be really good either. It's really this mix, and it's such a dance, it's such an art form. And I feel so bad for parents, myself included, because there's a thing where parents love their kids so much that they want to help their kids, so they'll do constructive criticism, which is very normal. You want to help your kid know to fix this and this. Mm-hmm. But what happens is the parent's primary role is to be somebody who loves and supports. That's what the kid craves. All the psych research, if you look at the sports psych research, it says supportive comments to constructive criticism should be at least 3-to-1, if not 5-to-1 when they're really young. So the kids are seeking affirmation and love and support, unconditional love from their parents, but then all of a sudden they get constructive criticism. Right. And if the parent really loves the kid, they might give a whole lot more constructive criticism and not even realize that they're getting interpreted as being this person who's maybe just criticizing them.
Well, let's hold that thought. Let's cut to a commercial, if you will. Okay. And then let's circle back to that car ride, if you will. Yeah. Welcome back. And so we were talking about the car ride and how that has become kind of an institutional part of hockey, right? How'd I do, Dad? That's the first thing.
If you're lucky, your kid asks that.
True. Right? And it kind of is a opportunity, I think, for us as parents to go into critical thinking and evaluation, right? My response is, did you have fun, right? I know that 2 minutes into our car ride from whatever we've done, Dad, how'd I do? Now, my other two, they could care less, right? They're out there and so I think it's really important that we use that time. It's that 15 minutes just as important, in the locker room as it is in the car ride, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, if you look at any of the sports research stuff, the sports psych stuff on any sort of constructive criticism for kids, and it works for all adults too, there's a ratio that's preferred in the research, and it's about 3 positive comments to 1 constructive criticism. Now, what does that mean? That means that every single parent who's ever existed, whoever cares about their kid, has this dilemma, myself included. You love your kids. You want to help them. You want to tell them, hey, I saw this. You want to help them. They're asking how they did. But in reality, in the beginning, what they're asking isn't how did I do? They're asking for affirmation. Right. They're asking for dad or mom to love them, for dad or mom to validate them and say, hey, you're doing great. That's what they want. They crave that from us. But it's hard because the magic trick is how do you show them they're loved and unconditionally loved but at the same time, you're telling them constructive criticism to help them. You care about them. This is the dilemma that will always exist, and there's no fix for this except talking about it and being open about it.
Well, and we're used to fixing things.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely, and there really is no easy fix. But go ahead.
Yeah, and the average parent, it is a difficult task. But then you throw in parents like you and I, who are trainers and coaches, and the temptation is there to really rip apart
Big and bad.
a kid's game. So I had to train myself to say to Wyatt, hey, we'll talk about that later. What do you want to eat?
Right.
And I try to just leave it at that. You hungry? And we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I think, when you start getting into 14, 15, 16, it's when we burn kids out. It's when they start losing interest and I wonder how much of, those influences impact, that love of the game, right? We're still here. We're still, 30 years, 40 years later, we still love hockey. And so maybe that's the greatest gift of it is that we still have that. But what else can you share as far as just, talking to our kids and what do you recommend for that, that conversation?
You had mentioned something about some dads that you spoke with about this very topic.
Yeah. Well, I was really lucky in that four dads from the camps this summer we did were really worried because their kids lost the love for the game. And one of the dads was a coach. The other three dads were just very supportive dads. I know for a fact they all love their kids, and they want the best for them. And they said, hey, look, can you figure this out? And I asked them, do you want the truth? Because I can find out the truth if you're okay with that. And
right.
Because sometimes it's relational stuff. And we found out in this camp, I was able to talk to each of the kids, and I found out in every case, and I'm not kidding you, this just happens over and over again, the kid feels like the constructive criticism is a criticism and is a condition of love. And in every case, you've got a kid feeling like his dad or his mom doesn't love him. And it's horrible because when you tell the dad, you tell the mom that, they're devastated.
Oh, yeah.
Because they give such a crap about their kids. We all do. And what was so great in this camp is we were able to bring the dad and the son together, or the dad and the daughter together. And in every case, they were able to talk. And I was able to say, hey, look, you had said some stuff. Will you say it now? And the daughter or the son was able to say, hey, Dad, look, I love hockey, but sometimes I feel like you're always just telling me I'm doing stuff wrong. And all of a sudden, the waterworks start. And you've got a guy who's just like typical man's man, who just has nothing left. There's tears in his eyes, and they're hugging each other. And they both realize that, hey, I'm your dad, and I love you and care about you, but I'm trying to help you, and I'm your son or daughter, and I love you, Dad, but I feel like I'm never enough. Right. And that's the brutal thing. We don't want to talk about this, right? It's easier to not talk about it.
I'm tearing up now.
Yeah, but it's a real thing, man. It's a real thing. So here's where we are. Everybody go back for a second to the first day your kid was ever on the ice. Remember when your kid was a little penguin, just waddling around? And man, when that kid was on the ice, you watch him move. And if he did anything other than fall down, it was the best thing in the world.
Right.
Or even when he fell down and he gets back up, what did you do? Good job. It's amazing. Oh, you did so good.
Even when Mallory punched Jack, he was on the ice the first time, right? And I'm not sure if it made the cut in the first episode. But Jack's on the ice for the first time. Mallory Iacono comes up, and she comes up to Jack and literally checked him, right? Now, Jack's laying up at, staring at the ceiling at TBSA, having no idea what happens. And he's got this girl standing over him saying, do you want to be my friend?
Uh-huh.
Right? And that was 5 years ago. They're still best of friends. And even though they compete against each other now, they're playing on different teams. Mallory's on an all-girls team, and Jack's. So they played each other a couple times during the season. I could care less about the game. When I look at the picture and I see Jack and Mallory standing next to each other with their arm around each other, Mallory is bright is bright tomato red from working so hard. She's that person that takes it serious already. And
to your point, Lee, they're having a blast. We need to have a blast too.
That's it. So, all right. So why don't we close this out with, because, if you find this of interest, let us know. And Chris, would you come back and enlighten us some more?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to. This is my favorite subject. It really is, honestly, besides raising my kids, just helping people believe in themselves and know that they have possibilities.
And that's consistent. I mean, you've been doing that for years, which is it's our soup. It makes us feel good. Coach Chris, what was who was a coach that really had an impact on you?
I never had a coach growing up.
Okay.
I grew up playing on the ponds, like mentioned. It's a dirty little secret. Never played organized hockey until I became an adult.
Okay.
But I grew up playing on the pond, so I knew how to play, and I played against the kids that did play organized hockey. And so I didn't really have a coach. If I had anybody that influenced me when I was young, that actually made me feel like your coach made you feel, it was a Navy buddy of my brother. He was home on leave. He bought a buddy with him, and the guy, for some reason, just took to hanging out with me and showing me things and teaching me things. And I was like, wow, who is this guy? He made me feel special.
Right.
Yeah, I'd never met him before.
Right.
But it's everybody's got that person in their, and hopefully in their past that they can point to and say that guy made a difference. So that woman made a difference.
And making a difference is where it all starts. Chris, I know you mentioned your Largo coach. Any other influencers? Anyone that just has put a stamp on your memory that you said, I am grateful to have met this person?
Oh yeah. I mean, in college it was funny. I had an earth science professor. His name was Ed Cantor, and the guy's got the pocket protector. He's the typical kind of scientist from the '60s looking guy, and it's funny. Even though it was an earth science class, he taught me that everything in life is your choice. Everything's your choice. And it's so powerful when you think about that, because it's so easy to think you're the victim. It's so easy to think that things are just determined for you. But over and over again, when you get knocked down, you can either stay down or you can ask somebody, hey, you want to be friends?
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
That's cool. For me, it's, Chris, I'm the same as you. I mean, I have only been coaching for 5 years. And Coach Ken. Right. Yes.
You're not the same as me.
And, before I was a huge Lightning fan, my favorite was Coach Ken. And Coach Ken was the guy that saw something in me to allow me out on the ice. And I had no idea that it was as complicated and as enriching as it actually became. We're all dads, moms, and we're saying, we want to help out. And, and how it's morphed from there is really amazing. Coach Ken, love you dearly.
Absolutely.
Coach Chris, you guys, for our second episode, I can't begin to express my gratitude for your unwilling desire. That's the wrong.
Unwilling.
Your ability to see through everything. Unwavering ability to want to help the kids.
Yeah. That's what it's about.
Yes, and Coach Reimer, Coach Sean, Coach Chris, you've made my life a better place. You've made me a better person, a better husband, a better father, and the impact that you've had on my kids is just it's important, and they're going to remember you, and hopefully, if this survives into the archives and they look at this 30 years from now, that they can ask themselves who are the people that were influential in their lives. And on a closing note, Chris, you got the mic for the last minute talk, and we'll end from there.
I guess I just want everybody to know that you have this amazing gift of a life, and I know how much you love your kids, and it's going to be different for everybody. But I just hope for you, I hope for everybody here, I hope you find a way to just talk to your kids and just let them know more than anything how much you love them, and let them know that you telling them these things about what can be better is all about your expression of love for them, and you care about them, because unfortunately it gets really complicated. And I want it to be great for you. I see how much you love your kids. I see it from mites all the way up, little waddling penguins out there. It's really a beautiful thing, and it can continue to be that. It just gets more complicated as life goes on. So good luck. If I can help you, find me.
There you go.
There you go. Folks, that's a wrap. Have a great day.